can hear the demons call when they do what they do. And now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through, I just gotta get through. Cause I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. Sometimes I feel like all is lost, but I know it's not true. I wanna put up all my walls cause I'm not in the mood. But then I cut myself off from the rest of the room. I know that time can heal it all if you're patient and soon. It can all be worth it, all the searching. Pain is never really permanent, but damn it hurts, man. I could feel all of the turbulence and it's concerning. I've been searching.
Hey guys, what is up? What is up? This has been long overdue. We already done a show together this past year, so why not just bring him back? Welcome, Parcero, Philly. How you doing, bro?
What's up, Mitch? I'm doing good, brother. Appreciate you having me back on here, man. And this crazy time that we're living as Philly sports fans. I'm excited to talk about it all.
Yeah, man, so am I. But I was thinking about, talking about the Phillies first, the World Series and all that. But then breaking news hit. Eagles traded for Robert Quinn, 20 minutes ago for a fourth-round pick.
I almost crashed the car as I got that notification. I was like, excuse me, what did we do?
Dude, I'm a part of this network called the Painted Lines, all these Philadelphia stuff over there. My Discord is blowing up right now. It's still going, and I'm like, there's no freaking way. Because I thought we weren't going to trade for anybody. Did you? Did you honestly think we were going to make a move like this?
I thought the possibility was higher than last year because I do think that the one position that we really did need was maybe some extra pass rushing depth. And it's Howie Rose, but you never know what he's thinking. And considering the fact that this team is undefeated and Super Bowl is a possibility, you got to go for it. Add that depth, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's freaking crazy. The fact it only costed him a fourth. A fourth for a three-time Pro Bowler. This guy's, 31, 32 years old, around there?
Yeah, he's 32, and that's probably why you got him a little bit cheaper because you're wondering how much more you're going to get from him. But what really you're thinking about is he's just going to be a rotational piece, some depth option. Because right now, listen, it's Hassan Reddick and it's Josh Sweat as your most of your pass rushing goes, and from what I understand, Robert Quinn has been playing under the 4-3, and JG's been showing a lot of different fronts, and so it's a different look that JG can kind of put out there with the defense now with Quinn in the fold.
Yeah.
What's up, Ryan? It's good seeing you, Ryan.
After Derek Barnett got injured, I really thought in the draft we were going to draft Ojabo. But then he got injured. We got Barnett. Then he got injured. It's like, what do we do now? And then Howie Roseman did Howie Roseman things. It only costed us a fourth. Now, for me, it was just like, does this ruin it away with the chemistry, or you don't think that matters at all?
No, I mean, listen, Quinn is a seasoned vet, and he's going to come into a really good group that already has Fletcher Cox. Hassan Reddick seems to be, he's transitioned very nicely here. I think he gets along well with some of those other dudes, and you also have BG. So I think Quinn is just going to fit in. Now, the one thing we all fear is, he becomes Ryan Kerrigan, 2.0, which, listen, let's be positive about this one. But I think that just because of the longevity that Quinn has been and some of the teams he's been playing with, I think he'll be fine here in Philadelphia, man. It's going to be fun.
Now, does this make us Super Bowl favorites with this move, or you still have us in a championship?
Dude, so listen, this is my team, right? It's tough for me to say we're Super Bowl bound, but obviously we're contenders, right? We're one of the teams you put them in the conversation as far as Super Bowl contender. But I mean, when you look at the NFC and you look at the picture of it, it is tough to not feel confident about it because of what's going on in Tampa, what's going on in Green Bay. A lot of us did anticipate that those would be the top dogs in the NFC, and it's clear that there's chinks in their armor, and there's questions of whether they'll win their divisions individually. But yeah, when you look at the rest of the picture of the NFC, who would have thought, Mitch? It's the NFC East that you really got to worry about. NFC. That's the crazy part about it.
Right. People always were thinking the AFC West was that division, with the Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. Now it's just the Chiefs and everyone else.
I will say this though, Mitch. I will say that because I want to see this season play out because I'm still not fully bought into the Giants and what the Cowboys are doing. I want to see what happens later on when the football actually matters.
Yeah. I mean, the Cowboys, they had that whole thing with Dak, him
Right.
getting injured. Now they had Cooper Cup. They were like, oh, is there a QB controversy? They get killed to us, and Dak is in, they win. So for me, it's just like I'm not worried too much about Dallas. I'm worried about the Giants, actually. They're 6-1. They're coming back from behind each time. They fight, they grit, and they get the dub. So it's like the Giants are a team not to be messed with that coaching staff. So for me, it's the Giants over the Cowboys.
And I'll even say this, like, I know we're riding high with our birds, but I listen, I still have my own question marks about this team. Like, listen, the second half lack of points that being scored is something that definitely does concern me just a little bit, with it being still a little bit early on in the season. But every one of these teams have question marks, but the Eagles seem to have the least amount of question marks. And look, the Giants have a really good record, and no one thought about this, but at the end of the day, Mitch, who's playing QB up there?
Hurts.
No, I'm talking about the Giants. Daniel Jones.
Oh, the Giants, Daniel Jones, right?
Not trusting Daniel Jones whatsoever.
I mean, he did have a good game last week. He did. I mean, 100 yards rushing, 200 yards passing. He is getting the job done, but to me, it's like, I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. I don't trust Daniel Jones after that flop years back. So, like, I don't trust him at all.
And I think over in Big D, listen, it's clear that that's a talented team, but there's still some holes. I really think that more so with Dallas, I think it's more up here, honestly, because I think that the offense could get them through as far as being a playoff team, especially with that defense. But I just don't think that they're that mentally tough, man, from watching that team.
Yeah. And then do we even have to talk about the Commanders? I mean, come on now. They're on a 2-game winning streak. They're on a 2-game winning streak right now.
I mean, the story is Wentz, right?
Yeah, he's out for like what, 4 more weeks, 3 more, something like that.
Done.
He's not even going to play against us on that Monday Night Football.
I think his Washington career is done.
It's insane. Do you think Wentz is going to get traded?
What do they? So I think he's got 1 more year out of this deal, right?
I think so.
Signed him in 2019.
Yeah.
So I mean, if Washington can get out of it, they're going to try to get out of it. And I think that more so it's like you're thinking now, what is Wentz's career now? Like, can he be that that glorified backup quarterback, like that, put him in higher echelon of backup quarterback? Like, I think that we'll see what he can do in that role, but I don't know. I want to say it's the ego. Obviously, I can't really speak too much on because I haven't been paying attention to the Colts or the Commanders as much as I've been done the Eagles. But, dude, something happened, man, because 2017 seems like a fairy tale more when you think about it when it comes to Wentz's season that year.
Yeah. It's just crazy with Carson Wentz. He ruined his thing last year with the Colts. That pick against the Jaguars, that settled it. He was going to the Commanders. He gets injured. I mean, the guy just not that good anymore. I just don't see what these Commanders fans are seeing.
Are they defending him? They really defend him?
Some are. I've seen on Twitter. It's crazy.
We are Commanders.
Oh, yes. I actually had that guy on. I had him on, and he was like, "Bro, that wasn't even supposed to happen. Someone clipped it, and it went viral."
Listen, good for him, man. That's some good publicity.
You're telling me, and I don't know if you saw this video of the Commanders. Hold on.
Those haters can't stand us. Left hand up.
You saw that?
I was messing with the beat. I'm not gonna lie to you. And then I hear the lyrics, and it was a good chuckle. It really was a good chuckle.
I'm telling you, it's just crazy. I've seen that whole video. That video was made 2 months ago before the season even started.
No way,
so now
dude.
That's
why he had the Carson Wentz jersey on.
Yeah, I wish the Steelers weren't straight dog water and didn't lose to the sorry-ass Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins are a good team. They got Tua back.
Yeah,
they're a good team, man.
And it's gonna be interesting this weekend because it seems to be they're in a little bit of a transition as they're going past the Ben Roethlisberger era, and it looks like it's Kenny Pickett's show, but it's tough for a young kid. But he's showing some flashes, some promise. You got to just keep sticking with it.
Yeah. So we were talking about Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz and the quarterbacks. Do you have Jalen Hurts in an MVP conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, number one, you got a good team in first place. Number two, the offense is putting up numbers, and Jalen Hurts has been balling out, man. The amount of 100-yard rushing games and multi-touchdown games over 100 yards. I mean, he's been averaging like around 200 yards a game. Like that to me is solidified enough just by that.
Yeah, for me, it's like the more throwing touchdowns he needs. So for me, it's like on the outside looking in. I mean, he's doing his thing. It's working. We're winning. We're 6-0, about to be 7-0, and all that stuff. But if you're comparing him with like Josh Allen, Herbert, and those guys, they got a lot of touchdown passes. So that's my only gripe. It's like he's on the outside looking in for me.
I don't see him winning it, but I definitely see him continuing on this run. And I think that we did see glimpses last year. I mean, look, I know he played against the terrible NFC East to go into the playoffs, but there was still like some fight, and there was some dog mentality in him. And I want to see how he does in the final run of this year, as you're clinching playoffs, and you're going to go. Listen, you might be in a situation where your record, you might be might have the number one seed on lock, and having that hunger, keeping that focus that they have right now. That's going to be the challenge. And that's what makes the season so much fun. The challenge every week. I keep talking about it on my previews and my post-game shows. Every week, the challenge is so exciting to watch. And they've been answering the question.
They have. And it's just crazy how much this team turned around in just one offseason. Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Kaiser White, Hassan Reddick, Garner Johnson, James Bradbury. It's incredible.
Yeah, man.
And now we got Robert Williams, Robert Quinn.
He's going to basketball. We're going to Sixers.
Yeah.
No, but Mitch, isn't it crazy? Because doesn't it feel a little bit like the Doug Peterson era? Like 2016, Doug laid the groundwork. It feels like 2021, Nick laid the groundwork, and he exceeded the expectations of making the playoffs. And now you're seeing in year two a dominant team. And listen, I don't know if Super Bowl is in the running. I can't say that as an Eagles fan, but it feels a lot like that era.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, bro, I didn't think of us going undefeated right now. I thought we were going to go 11-6.
Me neither.
And if people were telling me 16-1 before the season even started, I hate those people. I can't stand those people. I can't at all. What was your record going into it?
I had like 11, 12 wins for this team. I thought they would take another step. I definitely thought that they would win the division because I felt in the preseason, I just didn't feel the Commanders, Giants, or Cowboys had more than the Birds. But I mean, this team we're talking now, locking up the number one seed eventually, possibly later on down the line. And that's what I didn't expect.
I just didn't expect this defense making a huge turnaround. Like Robert Quinn right here, as Ryan said. Robert Quinn has a great potential to rushing to passing his plays to contribute from improving his skill sets of playing more snaps. You're right. I mean, he's not going to start right away, right? I think he's like a rotational piece, like what you said.
Yeah, that's. I mean, listen, you got that veteran. That guy's got a lot of miles. That's very valuable. So I think that's going to come in handy later on.
Yeah, I wonder how long we're going to keep him. It's just for the rest of the year, or is it like for a couple years? What's his contract?
I don't know his contract length. That's one thing I did not see there, but I would assume that they would keep him on until his contract. I would assume that he doesn't have much longer here because he's already been. This is like his second or third season with the Chicago Bears, so I would assume his contract will be up soon enough. And I think at that point they would probably let him walk.
I mean, I don't want him to be like a Ryan Kerrigan or a Barnett or something. I don't.
Thing is, Kerrigan, none of us saw coming. I mean, that was just crazy.
Yeah. The thing with Kerrigan, it was like he was a thorn on our side to Carson Wentz for years. And then once he comes here, he does nothing. I'm like, what? We gave you this much money for the 1 year, and boom. So, hey, Raphael, how's it going, man? How's it going? I haven't seen you in a bit, man. I haven't seen you in a bit. Hopefully you're doing well, bro. Hopefully you're doing well. But, yeah, I mean, do you see the Eagles staying undefeated, like, at all? I don't.
I think the loss will come. I actually do believe we'll split the Giants. I don't know whether it'll be in New Jersey or in Philly, but I do think that we will split. I think that it is due. I like Dable. I mean, Dable's one of those guys that I actually wanted last year before Sirianni came on board, and he actually said no to us, which I am blame at that, but I think he's doing a really good job down there, and he's calling an offense that is catering to what they need, especially with Daniel Jones. So
Yeah.
I do think we'll split. I think we'll have at least 2 losses, 2 to 3 losses. We'll see. I just don't know where exactly that'll be.
I mean, I can see it splitting with the Cowboys. I hate saying that. I can't stand it, but I feel
On
like we're
Christmas
losing.
too.
I don't celebrate it. So for me, it's just like it's a regular day.
I feel that. You're like, it's just another Cowboys loss. Fuck.
It's just like it's another loss for me, and then the next day we got Sixers and Knicks on Christmas. So it's
Great.
like that's a good weekend. That's a good weekend. But yeah, I just don't know who they're losing to. Saints? Probably not. I mean, there's always they're in a downward spiral.
I must say this, Mitch.
Yeah.
I went on to
Oh, it looks like losing your connection there, bud. Anyways, yeah, I don't see us with the Saints. Oh, losing to the Saints. Commanders, possibly? Probably not. I see us a win there. Let me see the rest of the schedule. Actually, I got it right here. The Packers could be one. The Colts, maybe. Texans, no, that's a win. Giants, possibly, yes. We talked about that. Hey, man, I'm live. Can I talk to you? Okay. Oh. All right. Looks like he'll be. There he is.
and we're back. Sorry about that.
You're good. You're good. I actually got a phone call, so it was perfect. So you were saying you were like, what were you in the middle of?
So when it came to the beginning of the season, I told everyone that I really did think we were going to get a good draft pick from the Saints. If you guys remember, we traded away that first round pick, and everyone thought I was nuts. Everyone thought the Saints would be winning the division and whatnot, and it's looking like I was right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was just like, I care about. Oh my god! Come on!
Don't they know the time of Mitch's show?
Yo, I'm live. Can I talk? I'm live. Can I call you later? Yeah, that's my guy and part of Hardcore Sports, aka Eagle. Shout out to him. I'll talk to you later. But yeah, I mean, just for the Eagles, man, we just gotta enjoy it. I mean, come on. When was the last time we were this good? And in the dream team, right? That was the only gripe was that dream team we were like, and they just fell.
Yeah,
that was the only thing.
It's fun, man, and it's funny because it kind of feels like they're on the sidebar because of what's going on with the Phils and everyone else in Philly sports. So I think they appreciate that a little bit.
Yeah, tell AK. He was the one who was calling me, Randy. I usually put my phone over there. I guess I forgot this time, but anyways, yeah. So how do you feel about this running game with the Eagles right now? How do you feel about it with Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, and all those guys?
I mean, it's like that card in your back pocket that you can always rely on because there's literally no one that's stopping this running game. Between the line just being so dominant, and then you got Miles Sanders having himself a great season, perfect timing with this contract coming up. Kenneth Gainwell, listen, I still think that there's more that we could be seeing happening with Kenny G. Boston Scott's always going to do well, especially against a New York team. And you always got Jalen Hurts. And so when you need it, and especially talking about locking up that number 1 seed, having to play Philadelphia the playoffs, what better way having that running game to rely on,
man? Yeah. And who's the biggest threat to the Philadelphia Eagles? Is it still the Cowboys, or to me, it's the Giants and NFC East? That's just me. The Niners with that acquisition of a Christian McCaffrey, that's another one. How about you? Is it just those two?
Yeah, man, it is tough. Giants, I think they definitely scare me more than the Cowboys because I just don't know enough about the Giants this season. We haven't had too much of a sample size of this Brian Daboll version of the New York Giants. It's really tough. I mean, the Vikings, I think, will run away with the NFC North, but I don't even trust them in the playoffs, considering Kirk Cousins and And you obviously been seeing what's been going on with the Packers. And in the NFC West, I think one thing that I see a lot from football fans, I think a lot of people are still sleeping on the Rams because of their slow start. And I don't think you should sleep on a playoff tested team like the Los Angeles Rams. You know, they're still having troubles of integrating A-Rob, and they still got Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford, and that defense is still pretty nice. So I do think that they will get it together, and they could be a team that could be dangerous heading into playoffs. But like we talked about at the top of this NFC is just doesn't have that quality like it's had in years prior. I mean, you might still not want to count out Tampa and Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, but it just doesn't feel like it's a tough NFC.
It's not, no. And the Packers are losing the last 3 in a row. I mean, Aaron Rodgers can go off at any time.
It's true.
That was actually one of my predictions of us losing was against the Packers and the Colts. But now the Colts are like, Matt Ryan's done. They still got Jonathan Taylor, but yeah, they're pretty much a no-show.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. And then, yeah, the NFC East looks wide open. So, and then we got to talk about this, right? We got to switch it to baseball, and that's the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, come on, we're in the World Series here. I would have been talking about this first, but, you know, that whole thing. So, how do you feel about us in the World Series? I didn't think about this happening at all.
It's a blessing. I don't know how better way to put it than it being a blessing. Nobody, and I mean nobody, saw this coming with this Phillies team, considering the track record that these guys have had. Their September collapses, especially with some core players like Bryce Harper, like Aaron Nola, like Rhys Hoskins, and everything just kind of came together at the right time. Rob Thompson was the answer. I was one of those guys said that, listen, firing Joe Girardi wouldn't fix anything. And obviously it fixed a lot more than we anticipate. But seeing the young kids get their opportunity, seeing someone actually manage a bullpen, and obviously seeing big-time star players perform in big moments have really made this run just so much fun to watch. Mitch, you know, we weren't really there in 93, but I'm sure you've watched a lot of, you know, highlights and all your fair share documentaries of the 93 Phils. This team feels a lot more like the 93 team than any other team because of the fact that you got good players. A lot of people counted out, and nobody thought that they would make it to the World freaking Series. I don't know what's going to happen this upcoming weekend and this week that we have with the Houston Astros. They're a pretty darn good team. But, man, like I've been saying from the beginning, just enjoy the ride, and I'm going to continue doing it because there was no expectation. So just enjoy this.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I didn't think we were going to get past the Cardinals. I thought we were going to get swept by the Braves, and I didn't think we were going to get past the Padres. I mean, it's our bullpen for me that's a little sketchy. It's Rhys Hoskins playing first base. He can't really make a catch. And then we're leaving runners in scoring position. Like, I thought that would come into play, but look what happened now. We're in the World Series.
You know, the playoffs, it's so funny because, you know, you start some things during the regular season. This is for every sport. But the playoffs is so much more about it's a mind game, and you have to have some luck. I mean, let's be honest. This team's had a little bit of luck going forward. And a lot of Rob Thompson's decisions have been questionable, but they've worked. And a lot of his decisions have been turning out to be pretty darn good. And that's just the crazy part about it. It's all about the moments, and the Phillies have had more bigger moments, and that's why they've been in this situation despite Rhys Hoskins' mishaps at first base, despite some of the pitching, not just the bullpen, but starting pitching as well, having their mishaps as well. Despite leaving runners stranded on in scoring position, they've still found they've had the bigger moments than their opposition, and that's why we're heading to the World Series, baby.
Yeah, and so we're against the Astros. Verlander's probably the first game. So we got to win that game. That's like a must. If we don't win that game in the first one, it's pretty much, I don't see us winning it. Like, is it that important that we win the first game?
No, but I'll say this. I think it's important that they split again. I think that they split going back to Philadelphia. It's still the playing ground that they've had in the past series in the NLCS and the NLDS. But look, I will say this. It will be imperative to win game one because of Verlander's mishaps in the World Series. Numbers in the World Series are not the best. I think that the Phillies, with the batters that they've had and the way they've been playing up to this, can take advantage of this. The rest was concerned a little bit. I think that 4 days is a little bit too much, considering from the game 5 of the NLCS to Friday game 1. I think it's a little bit too long, but I want to see Aaron Nolan. Like, listen, there's a lot of people who question Aaron Nolan game 1. I'll be honest, I do question it as well, because I think that Zach Wheeler in this type of situation, we're talking the World Series, I want to see in game 1, and I want to see him twice in this series as well. So there's a lot of questions, and we'll see what happens. But I do think that they need to split in Houston for sure.
Yeah. And then for me, what bothers me the most about this team, it's just like it's not consistent enough. If you can catch my drift, especially with like Hoskins, he's like down bad, and then he hits a home run out of the blue, and then he's down bad again, and then he's like out of the blue. Can we just be more consistent? That's my thing with this team. If we be more consistent and knock our runs home, I'll feel much more confident than I do now, because the Astros are a scary team. Like, are we the underdogs?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. When you mean the Astros have been in this position plenty of times. And this is kind of a new Astros team. Like, this is led by Yordan Alvarez and Jeremy Pena, who replaced Carlos Correa, who left in free agency. So, I mean, look, the thing that we need to remember is these are the playoffs. These are all really good teams that you're going up against, and these are all the biggest competitors of the sport. And the Phillies have been able to find ways to overcome all that. They've made more plays. The bats have really been the big story of this. There's a reason why we went out and spent over the luxury tax for Schwarber and Castellanos to add on to the lineup, because it just adds on more power and alleviates pressure. That's what we anticipated at the beginning of the season. And so when you have a day off by Rhys Hoskins, you got Kyle Schwarber, you have Bryce Harper, you have JT, you have Castellanos, and then so on and so forth. It goes for every other player. Now, if everyone's off, it's a different story.
Yeah. I mean, from Bryce Harper, this is his chance right here. Like, if we win the World Series, my opinion, he'll go in the Hall of Fame if we win this World Series. Do you already have him in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I do. I do actually have him in the Hall of Fame because of this, just the stats and just based off this playoff run. I think for sure. But I think now, if he wins this World Series, I mean, you're talking about the all-time greats when you're talking about putting Bryce Harper in the same conversation, because he's got the ring, and just again the playoff run that he's been on, that 2-run home run shot, the game winner in Game 5. I mean, that's going to be one of the monumental games in the sport, and not just in Philly sports history, but in the sport of baseball. To me, he's got to be a no-brainer Hall of Famer, man. He's one of the best pure hitters in the game, in a non-steroid era too, by the way. Let's put it that.
Right. And then you have Hoskins, his bat, his home run, the bat flip, that will go down in history too.
Rock spike.
I mean, come on now. You can't write this. You can't write this up. You can't fake this.
And dude, I think that like the Kyle Schwarber home run in San Diego was a really close number 2 favorite just moment of the playoffs for us. That was the longest home run in Petco Park history.
Yeah, I know.
In the NLCS, nonetheless.
Schwarber. Yeah. So my dad actually compared that hit to Matt Stairs back in 08.
Very comparable, very comparable. And that's why he threw the first pitch in Game 3. That's a great one.
I mean, for me, does it bother you that Schwarber leads off when you want him to bat third?
I wouldn't mind it. The problem is I don't have another leadoff guy. Like, I don't like moving Bohm. I don't like moving JT. I don't like moving Gene. I like them in the latter part of the lineup. And listen, I hear a lot of talk about the offseason already, and there are some very interesting questions. Like, you talk about Rhys Hoskins. Like, my question is, could something drastic happen to the left side of the infield with Gene and Rhys Hoskins? Adding on more bullpen pieces, adding on another starting pitcher. There's a lot of different things that I definitely continue thinking about, and so it'll be interesting to see what goes on. But it's been fun so far this season.
Yeah. And you were talking about, we fired Joe Girardi, getting Rob Thompson, and then now he's going to be our manager for a couple of years now. Do you see Rob Thompson actually, if we do fire him in a couple of years, do you see him getting like a coaching job right away?
I mean, to be interesting, like I feel like baseball, you don't see a lot of retreads like you do in some of the other sports.
Right.
And I do feel that, if he does, so like let's say he gets fired in 2 years, I feel like there would be a team out there that would give him a shot because of what he's done this year. When you have that ring, I mean, I know it's a different sport, but Doug Peterson gets let go by the Eagles a year later. He was sought out by a couple teams, and Jacksonville was that team. So I think that by just doing this alone, that'll definitely keep him highly regarded in future jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we got to talk about this guy, right? Doc Rivers. I mean, come on. I'm not the biggest fan. I can't stand this guy. I want him gone. So you see Philly fans out there like on Twitter and Reddit and that stuff. If we fire Doc Rivers, right, they're comparing this to the Phillies. We're going to go to the finals. I mean, come on now. In the East, it's so competitive, bro.
Yeah. No, I listen. It's funny because during the off season, I've actually made that comparison. I think shortly after we know Rob Thompson got named the interim, and they started going on a little bit of a run, and I'm thinking about the Sixer situation. I think we're in the middle of free agency, and I'm thinking to myself, I love Sam Cassell, man. I would love to see Sam Cassell get a job out here. And I'm thinking to myself about the mishap. And the real main thing that just bothers me with Doc is just the stubbornness. I respect him as a coach, and I do think he's done really good things here in Philadelphia, but I just hate to think that one of the pieces of why we lost again in the second round was because of Doc's stubbornness. What happened? What would happen if you gave Paul Reed a little bit more play, gave Isaiah Joe a little bit more play in games that really honestly didn't matter at the end of the season? That would have really helped going forward into the playoffs, right? Like it really would have given those guys. And so when it comes to Glenn Rivers, man, I'm gonna call him Glenn Rivers. It's really just about fixing that stubbornness, man. I really hope that he does. I really would love to win with him, but listen, at the end of the day, we're Sixers fans, and that's what we want to see winning. And if that's Sam Cassell, great. If it's Glenn, great. So far, I'll say this: through 4 games, I think I need to see a little bit more to judge off of. Now, after 20 games and we're below 500, something needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted Doc Rivers like gone for a while. I like the move, the signing in the beginning of Doc Rivers, because I thought he was going to help Ben Simmons, but no one can help Ben Simmons. Look at Brooklyn now. I mean, look at Brooklyn. So it's just like, for me, I just want him gone because you've seen the rotations in the first 3 games. It's like, what happened now? Joel Embiid had like a foot injury, and then the first game he played 31 minutes going into the fourth quarter, which is
we
like,
won the trade.
Yeah, we still want to trade, yeah. But with just Doc Rivers, it's just I just want him gone. I made too many rants. I don't want to go on another one. It's just like it doesn't make sense. I'd rather have Dan Burke because when
Over Cassell?
Huh?
Over Cassell?
I mean, Dan Burke, he coached. I mean, look, we beat the Nuggets, and then we won a game after that with Dan Burke. We got 2 wins, but I'd rather have Sam Cassell. I'm right there with you. But either one I'm fine with. So we just need a younger guy with X's and O's. That's all we need.
Yeah, I also the thing too to keep in mind is there are 5 new pieces you're implementing into the rotation, and I think that one needs to get figured out. I mean, watching the Sixers play, obviously the defensive woes are there because I just don't think that these guys have played a lot together. Their chemistry is just straight up missing. What's more of a concern is the lack of speed in the starting lineup. I mean, it's pretty slow besides Tyrese Maxey, and that's kind of my main concern. And one of my concerns heading the season was finding a dynamic wing player to replace Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green. That's the guy you saw a lot play at the 3. And, we really didn't find that. We instead decided to put PJ Tucker in there, which, listen, I love PJ Tucker, and I think that he's going to be a vital piece to this team. Doesn't mean you need to start him every night. I would have wanted to see a guy who can play some D, have some speed, and can shoot the 3 ball at efficient, like Crowder. I thought Crowder was a perfect example for that, but we'll see what happens. I've put that point out there. I would like to see Daniel House in the starting lineup just to see how it looks, to add a little bit more speed, especially defensively. But those are the main concerns here. I think Joel Embiid will be fine. Like, having Joel Embiid struggle in the early part of the season, honestly, to me is a blessing because I really want Joel Embiid on his A game come April, not in October. It doesn't really do anything to me.
Yeah. So for me, it happened. It's a deal for me because you have him like running for MVP, right? Back to back years, second. I want him out of the gate, just means business, a threat, a vile threat. And then with Doc Rivers using him right, we could see him to that threat, to that potential of this season. And then it was just like we got to put more respect, not having like a fall counter, him falling down like 8 times per game. I want
That
him
definitely
to
has to
be like,
stop for sure.
oh yeah. I was on a Boston Celtics stream for that game. Oh my god,
Okay.
that was terrible. That was terrible. That was freaking terrible. But we were just counting, and he took a shot each time Joel Embiid fell. So it was just like I hated that, man. I hated that. So with Joel Embiid playing the best that he can, and then with James Harden playing the best that he can, bro, look out. James Harden right now is the guy. Is the guy. Like, isn't he averaging like 33, 9, and 8? Something like that?
Yeah, and he's been the positives thus far in the season because he's given you what you thought you were going to get at the trade deadline last year. And dude, if that's what you're going to get, I mean, Joel turning it up, and you already got Max. I mean, this guy's the limit. And Tobias Harris is finding his role too, Mitch.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Tobias because of that contract. That contract is so ridiculous, bro. But he has been playing well. I used to call him Tobias, but whenever he's asked, I call him that. But for me, it's just like Tyrese Maxey needs to be a vocal point. He needs to be a vocal point out there. I want him like the second option, James Harden even at the third sometimes. And just like if he gets going, look out. Tyrese Maxey could make a huge jump like a Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, those kinds of players if he gets the ball. So he's the X factor of this team for me.
Yeah, I mean, dude, use his strength. That's just my issue right now. There's just not enough speed. His strength is speed. When you get him on the go, that's really when he's at his most dangerous, especially like those transition buckets. Like that's his bread and butter. And I think that's get a little bit more of that in there. That's something I definitely want to see. And let's go back to my point, man. If we can find another dynamic a wing player, I mean, Toby can run the quick breaks as well. James and Joel, I mean, listen, they're great ISO players, but if you can get a third guy to kind of run that quick break and play faster defense and control the pace of the game, I think that would really help this basketball team right now.
And then if Doc just gave minutes to the bench, like last game against the Pacers, that was beautifully done. Like the bench scored 35 points, and the games before each time was like 8, 10, 9, or something like that. I forget. But the bench is so good on paper. I need to see it on the court. I mean, you have Montrezl Harrell. You got Georges Niang, who can make a shot when he wants to. You got all of these guys out there on your bench who could possibly start for some teams out there. So I want this bench out there to be to their potential to be the best, and that goes to Doc Rivers.
Yeah, and that goes back to my point about Montrezl Harrell, DeAnthony Melton. You can throw in, I guess, PJ Tucker and kind of in that mix as well. But there's some new pieces being integrated right now. If you look at the rotation, your sixth man right now would probably be DeAnthony Melton, followed by Daniel House, and then of course Montrezl Harrell and Georges Niang, and we'll see what the rotation looks like after that. But there's a couple new pieces, and I think that those guys kind of need to figure out how to play with one another. D'Anthony Melton has intrigued me because I feel once he figures out how to play with this team, he can be very dangerous. It doesn't feel like he's still in sync, but he's still a great ISO player, and he could score a bucket on his own. Montrezl adds on to that aggressive physicality that this basketball team has needed. Daniel House has given you more than what Matisse Thybulle can, and I understand how important defense is, but it's an offensive game. I'll be honestly, guys, it really is. And I think that team defense is more important than individual defense. And when you have a guy like Daniel House who has athletic ability, who can help you score a bucket, I think that's a little bit more valuable. So I think that this team just needs to just play together. But I mean, your concern with Doc is legit. That to me is the bigger concern than these guys individually.
So it doesn't bother you that Thybulle doesn't play a lot? Like that doesn't bother you at all?
It bothers me to the extent that I think that's on him, honestly, because he's had now this is going to be his 4th season, and he hasn't really developed his offensive game whatsoever. And I'll be honest with you, his defensive, something's wrong with him mentally. Ever since the whole COVID situation last year, something has hasn't clicked. I think he's lost a little bit of his confidence, and that could be tough when everyone is coming down at you and questioning about listen, it is what it is, but he definitely has seemed a little bit off, and so if he can't develop his offensive game, but I'm sorry, we need to move on. We need to find other ways to get some contribution. There's a reason why he's not playing a lot of minutes. He just has to contribute more on the offensive side, man.
Yeah, I mean, you have him missing layups, wide open threes. I mean, to me, he's like Ben Simmons all over again, but he's willing to shoot. He's willing to shoot, but I need to see him put more work out there. And honestly, I want him gone. I would rather trade him for like a young piece or something, but I don't know how high its trade value is at. Isn't it trade value like low?
I don't think it's going to be pretty high. And also, he's on a contract year. He could be gone after this year. So I think teams would much rather wait for a guy like, Matisse. No one's going to be blowing up Maury's phone up for Matisse Thybulle at this point. So, yeah, I would. I would have rather put in Matisse Thybulle and Seth Curry in that trade. But hey, can't look back at it. You can't look back at it now.
Yeah, I mean, Seth Curry, is he even playing? I don't think he is.
I think he's been banged up a little bit, but again, like to me, team defense is more important. I would have loved having that spacing.
Yeah, the spacing is crazy, right? And then you have Nets fans out here telling me that you don't need Ben Simmons to shoot the ball and all that stuff. I'm like, I've been dealing with this guy for 5 years. Don't tell me. And then I watched this Nets guy video. I was just laughing the whole time. I'm like, this is the best entertainment I've gotten all day.
Well,
because look.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. It's just saying like we were right the whole time.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. We were right. But it's just like if you can't play Ben at the center, then what else are you going to do with him? I mean, he can't, what else can he do? He's a rim protector essentially at this point who can pass the ball.
I'm telling you, that he has more fouls than points or more points than fouls. What was it, like 17 points, 14 fouls? He fouled out twice.
I know, dude.
It's fucking crazy. And the Nets fans are just like, they're having enough. They had enough of this. And I'm just like, I've been there, done that. Been there, done that. I think he's done basketball, honestly. I don't even think he should even touch the basketball again.
I don't know what he's. Listen, for him, I want to see him go to like a Oklahoma City, like a Detroit, like a rebuilding situation because I think he deserves to be. I think he needs a little humble pie, right? Every now and then you need a humble pie.
Right. So if he goes to like the Thunder or something hypothetically, and then they get Victor Wembanyama, can you imagine that?
KD ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, I mean Victor Wembanyama, dude, that guy's the future.
So I hear. It's funny because ever since the Sixers have been good, I really have not been paying attention to the draft process whatsoever. Dude, process years, I was all in. Watching every big college game, watching every mock draft.
Oh, yeah. I love the whole college process. I've been watching Wembanyama for like 2-3 years, and people are now just hopping on the bandwagon. I'm like, come on, guys, where have you been? Like, really? But yeah, he's gonna be something in this league. So for the Sixers, where do you have them in the Eastern Conference right now? Like for the playoffs? Like people are telling me like 6, 7. I had them in the beginning of the year, second.
I could see like 2-3 seed. I'm gonna go with the 3 seed. I could see. Listen, I'm not gonna put any stock into the beginning of the year, but I could see the top of the East still being Boston and Milwaukee, Miami at 4. But it's really gonna come down to those 4 teams. It's gonna come down to Boston, Philly, Milwaukee, and Miami. I'm sorry, and it's all 4 really good teams who have been playoff tested and you gotta believe that at some point it's the Sixers' time to get through. I mean, Boston's been in the finals, Milwaukee's been in the finals, Miami's been in the finals. When is it gonna be the Sixers' time, man? You just have to believe it's ours.
I don't think we can with Doc Rivers. I mean, straight up, man. I don't think so.
I'll say this though. Listen, I'm not too high on Doc Rivers at this point, but crazier things have happened. Budenholzer. Now listen, Budenholzer doesn't have the whole resume that Doc has because obviously Doc's got that championship. But Budenholzer's a really good NBA coach, and a lot of people were counting him out before he won with the Milwaukee Bucks. So crazier things have happened, but It's not. It isn't looking too promising with Doc. Just it's you gotta adapt, man. He's too stubborn.
That's it. I've been saying this for years. Well, not years, but I've been saying this for like a couple months now.
Yeah,
so
man.
it's like
It's
what
frustrating. It is.
And then he's in the top 75 of all time for coaching, or top 10 or whatever. Like, how?
Would you question Pop? Would you question Pop?
Oh my God. For me, it's just like with Doc Rivers, it's like what? Most 3-1 blown leads, leads,
Game 7 losses.
It's just like I just don't know what to do next. People are just like people were calling me Mr. Negative on Twitter because I'm just being realistic about the coach.
No, I mean, you got to be real. I mean, like that's what I've learned in Philly sports. Like I won't blatantly be like, oh, the Phillies have no freaking chance, even though because they're underdogs, right? You would think that, but no, you gotta be optimistic with the dash of honesty, and that's all you got to do with it, man. At the end of the day, Doc is a good coach, but his stubbornness has led us to questioning whether he can get the job done.
I don't know, man. It comes down to Doc at the end of the day. And honestly, it comes down to Harden because, look, he's playing great. We're 1-3. But it comes to me at the end of the season, does he give up like what he's known for? Like he's known for like giving up. He's known for like not playing defense or whatever in the crunch time. So
Mitch, this whole team's got question marks, man. This whole team is a bunch of question marks because you could say it's the same about Joel, one of the best generational players, and he still hasn't even gotten out of the second round. There's people who listen. You just talked about Tobias Harris's contract, and there's a doubt of Tobias Harris. And with Tyrese Maxey, I know there's a lot of love, but what is Tyrese's ceiling exactly? So there's questions all throughout this basketball team, and the core really has to answer to it. To be honest with you,
yeah. This is the best team that Joel Embiid has ever played on in his whole time. So for me, it's like if we don't win a championship in 1 or 2 or even 3 years, Embiid's gonna want out, and I won't be mad. Because we didn't do our job to build around him perfectly. So for me, it was like, if we can't get him done, send him off. And that's my favorite player. Sucks.
It's a business.
Yeah, it's a freaking business move that people are going to hate that, but it is what it is. Do you start the process over again?
Yes, but listen, now you've had a couple more iterations. I really do think what Presti's doing in Oklahoma City is pretty freaking incredible. I do think
really
it's going to be a good team. I will say the whole drafting best available may not be always. If you're going to do that, I just feel like the scouting team at that point was just not the best because Nerlens and Ja, and I mean you can't control Fultz, right? But I would do it a little bit. I would still have the same premise, but I would do it a little bit differently.
Can you imagine if we had Tatum with that pick?
I mean,
if we had Tatum, I don't think we would. When we had Embiid before Tatum?
Yeah, Embiid was the Wiggins draft. So what, 2014?
Yes.
Ja was 2015. Ben was 2016. Fultz 2017. So yeah, man, it's just. And I mean, it was what it was. I still would have done the process because I mean, listen, I grew up through a lot of that mediocre basketball, and I had enough with the Eddie Jordans of the world, the Mo Cheeks of the world, and all those type of teams. The 2011 team was fun, but you knew they weren't going to the finals because eventually they were going to lose to Miami Heat, and something had to change. We tried with Bynum, and that blew up in our face. So probably would have done the same, man.
I don't think I told you this with Andrew Bynum. So, the Sixers had like an open practice like in Camden, right? Those. So I would go there. I have the signed basketball. It was signed by like Moses Malone, World Be Free, all this stuff. So I take it. Andrew Bynum signs it. Doug Collins signs it. So I'm like, my ball is not ruined.
Just got to patch that bad boy up right there.
Yeah, I still have it. It's in there and then like a thing. So I'm like, yeah, that basketball is ruined. And then Doug Collins, man, what the hell? He played good for the Sixers, didn't coach well. Didn't we who was our last good coach? I can't even go back. Larry Brown?
I mean, yeah, but that's tough because that was like 2.5 seasons of good basketball with Coach Larry Brown.
Yeah, back in 2000, 2001. I remember what I was doing during that time. I was sitting on the edge of my couch, and Allen Iverson did a step over. I was like, it's over. I walked away. I was like, damn, he did it.
Fun times in Philly, man.
Yeah, but we got to still talk about if the Sixers do make the finals, who do you think will be a good matchup for them on the West Side? Like, for me, I don't want them to play like the Warriors. I don't want them to play the Suns or something like that.
I mean, I guess listen, if you learn anything from these playoffs with the baseball, with the World Series, I mean, anything could really happen. But I mean, if I'm looking at the West, I mean, why don't you want to play the Suns? Out of curiosity,
Mikal Bridges.
you don't want to do it to Michael.
I don't want Mikal to do it to us.
I'm so curious. You know who could be the team this year, possibly. No, I'm saying I could see Dallas being in there. Could be Lucas time, and you saw what happened in the playoffs. Now Jalen Brunson loss was big for them. I'll say that.
He got overpaid, but yeah.
I mean, it's the Knicks.
I
would expect anything less from them.
I'm close with like Leon Rose, that family, and everything, but it's just like, come on now, you overpaid him. You got his dad to be assistant coach. I mean, what the hell?
They expect Jalen Brunson to turn around the New York Knicks. I mean, that's just.
Hey, they were close to getting Donovan Mitchell.
That is true. That is true. That's weird. Donovan in Cleveland just doesn't feel right. Like
it doesn't. It really doesn't. But they have a good lineup over there. You got Garland. You got Mitchell. You got Evan Mobley. You got Jared Allen. And I forget who's the third. Is it Okoro?
I think they still got Kevin Love though.
Oh
and Markkanen. No, I think they traded Markkanen. I think they traded him in the
Markkanen got traded to Utah. He was part of that trade. And Utah's looking good. They're 3-0.
Sexton, man. I knew he still had some left in the tank.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. So, give me a hot take for each one of those teams. The Eagles, Philly, well, not the Phillies. And throwing the Flyers in there. Or the Union.
The Flyers, a hot take with the Philadelphia Flyers. I could see the Flyers making the playoffs.
What are they, like 3-1 right now?
I think they're 3-2 or 4-2 now. They played a couple games now, but
they're 4-2.
I just see a team, and everyone's killing Torts for benching K's and TK. I think that's kind of a season-changing type of move right there. I liked what they have as far as the veteran players mixed with some of these young guys, and Torts seems to be getting a lot out of them. Like, it's not too far-fetched to think that they can make it as an 8th seed in the playoffs. Now, I don't know what they'll do, but I think that's not too far-fetched to think that they could do that. It's been fun to watch. They play hard. Obviously, you have Carter Hart. The backup goalie situation does concern me. I don't really.
That's what I've been hearing.
Felix Sandstrom is not really putting a lot of confidence, and we've had pretty serviceable backups. Elliott and Martin Jones were very serviceable. I mean, the situation with Fedorov is just a bummer, man. You can't control that situation. He would have been a more than serviceable backup goaltender, but. I could definitely see that happening. I mean, with the Birds, I could see the Birds not getting out of the second round.
Yeah.
I could see them winning a playoff game. And I could see them getting out of the second round. It's still a young team, too. That's like what people fail to forget. I mean, I know we still have like some of the lingering pieces from the Super Bowl team. Like you still got Kelsey, Johnson, Cox, and Graham. But it's still a lot of young pieces on that team. And I could see that very well happening, not getting out the second round. And I guess with the Sixers, I mean, the one I can really think on top of my head is Matisse Thybulle completely out of the rotation by the third month of the season.
Isn't he already I think he's already pretty much out.
I mean, he's like hanging on by a thread. Like he's getting garbage time. Doc put him in for like 20 seconds in the first or second quarter. And yeah, so he's hanging on by a thread. Anything could happen in the next couple months, but that's crazy to see.
Yeah. And then for the Phillies, I guess the World Series?
Hector Neris has a huge save to beat the Phillies in Game 6.
Bruh.
Here's the thing, and Mitch, I feel like you had the same sentiment. Did you feel Hector Neris was completely garbage here in Philly?
I guess to like an extent, right?
I think Hector Neris was not a closer, and I think that was the problem. He was very serviceable as a setup guy. When you took him out of that high pressure role, he was fine.
Yeah.
But I get it. There was a lot of bad saves with Hector Neris, or save attempts.
Yeah. If he gets a save and wins the World Series, I am done.
It'd be worse than Carter rounding around third, man.
Yeah. And then the Union's coach, he won Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year for the second time in 3 seasons. Europe is calling, man. Europe is calling.
Yeah. I'm not really a big soccer guy. My dad
you.
is, so we talk about soccer all the time.
That's awesome, dude.
He keeps updated with that.
Eastern Conference Finals on Sunday, man. It's perfect doubleheader. Birds in the afternoon, Union at night.
I just can't watch soccer. I just can't.
I tell you.
I just don't know. Like, I can't I can watch golf, but I can't watch soccer.
Gotcha, man. I respect that because at least you're not poo-pooing it. You're just being honest, and that, I respect.
Yeah, people are just like telling me, like, how can you not watch soccer? I'm like, A, I never played. B, it's boring. I feel like I'm watching foosball. It's like, that's just me, man. I just can't. People give me a heart about that. So
that shouldn't happen either, man. Like, if we're gonna grow the sport, like, we also can't be, crapping on people for not liking it either. Like, it just has to be like an organic thing, because that's how I felt. I mean, I fell in love with it because I got taught it, but we can't poo-poo people for that either. It goes both ways.
Yeah. So World Cup, November, next month.
It's literally the drug of choice for soccer fans, because you have great soccer every day. It's the best of the best.
I mean, how far do you have the United States going?
I listen. I think the main question is Berhalter as the coach.
Yeah.
Listen, everything I'm talking about with the U.S. soccer, this is from my people telling me. I don't really watch too much U.S. soccer. I'm a Colombian soccer fan, but this is the best crop of players this country's ever seen. You got kids, and I think they're still pretty much kids at this point, and they're their early 20s, but you got a lot of these kids who played in important European games, and they are going to go up against some of the same European players that they played in Champions League in the biggest stage of the sport. So that I do trust. It's just the coach and his decisions and his philosophy is really the issue. But the group, they should get out of it. They should either win or finish in second or close to it, because it's England, Wales, and I think it's Algeria or one of those Middle Eastern teams that they're in with. So they should be able to take first or second place. So it's a good squad, though. It's a fun squad.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to say thank you for coming on, man. It was long overdue. And I love talking sports with you, bro.
Same, man. Same. I love talking sports.
That's basically all we do, right? That's basically all we do. We just go online and just talk sports for like an hour a day.
What can you complain about?
Yeah, we can't, man. So let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, guys. Same thing. I'm on YouTube as well. At Parcero Philly. Twitter, Parcero Philly. Instagram, L_Parcero_Philly. Really appreciate you guys. Could follow TikTok. I talked about Mitch. TikTok took us down. They banned us. So we have a new TikTok coming up. We're grinding and we're giving the same quality Philly sports content. So make sure you guys follow. It's actually right on the screen, Parcero Philly. So make sure you guys subscribe, follow. Thanks to Mitch for having me on, man. It's always a pleasure, brother.
Yeah, man. It's always fun. And hopefully we can get the wins. Hopefully I can say win tonight, Sixers and Raptors, and so on and so forth. So Yeah, guys, we'll catch you all later. Have a good rest of your night, and go Philly, man. Let's go Philly. Have a good
Phil's
one.
and six. Phil's and
Oh
six.
yeah, fish.